When I was in my Engineering 100 class and technical communications was a part of what we were doing, it didn't seem relevant at the time. But I think without having had that sort of refresher, and in the context of engineering and in the context of the work that we were doing on the sort of other half of our engineering course, I don't know that I would have learned to sort of apply that format and that framework and that writing style to all of the different types of work that I've now been able to apply it to in research papers that I've done for school, or in proposal documents, in strategy documents, in sort of social activism formats as well. For my current job, I work in the International Programs and Engineering Office here at the College of Engineering. A lot of my time is supposed to be committed to one-on-one advising with students. If I spend so much time writing that I don't have time to really advise students and have that face-to-face interaction, I'm not going to be as effective as an employee. And if I write documents that are difficult to understand, aren't very clear, or are really lengthy, my peers aren't going to have time to do the rest of their job that they're supposed to do. As I grow, hopefully into a manager or director level, a lot of the types of communications I'm going to be doing are going to be more formal forms of technical communication, where maybe what I'm drafting as strategy documents right now, which are just internal drafts, will become more public presentations and proposals to the dean, or other types of grant proposals or things like that, which is what I see my current director doing, someone I need to look up to in my writing. As insignificant as technical communications seemed at the time that I was taking it, it has really come up in everything that I've done. Through my entire undergraduate program, I continued to have to write papers for all of my classes. And it saved time for me, too, to have some sort of structure to cling on to that I learned in that class. Professors have pointed out how clear my writing is. My peers and other staff members that I've worked with in my positions have also pointed out how clear my writing is. So, as insignificant as it seemed at the time, I'm really proud to have had that experience at U of M early on in my college career.
You can have the best idea for the next generation technology. You can have the best idea for how to make a process on the manufacturing floor better. You can have the best idea for a new programming language. But if you can't figure out how to communicate it to others effectively, then it's just as nice as putting it up on your refrigerator at home. After graduating from the University of Michigan, I joined Toyota in our North American headquarters. I'm in our purchasing division, so I'm responsible now for all of our team members' education and development. So I have the responsibility of over 250 people learning what it's like to be a purchasing professional with regard to the Toyota way. There's this idea that we call nemawashi, which is a Japanese word, and literally it means preparing the soil for a plant as you might transplant it from a pot down into the ground to make sure that it survives and thrives. Similarly, we want our ideas or our proposals to survive and thrive, so we do a lot of this pre-work, a lot of this negotiation and crafting of the message, such that when it gets to the appropriate decision maker, everyone already understands and agrees on the direction that we're proposing. While oftentimes written communication can be expedient, it can be easy to fire off a quick email and then delete it from your inbox and check that box that you completed it. Did you actually accomplish the communication that was intended by the sender of that information? I think one of the biggest things I try and keep in mind when I'm crafting a message is who is the audience and what do they understand? What do they know as their basic point of reference? Once I understand that, I know how much jargon to use, I know what words I need to explain, I know where I might need to use a picture to describe something versus a graph versus some sort of other visual. I might know where I can completely skip the background information because this person that I'm talking to has far more experience in that area than I do. But if I don't understand who I'm talking to and who that audience is, and we get derailed from our time that we have together, and sometimes if it's with an executive, you might have 15, 20 minutes, and once that time is over, you've lost your chance. So if you don't have a very concise message, you can lose all of that hard work that you've put in prior to that by having one term that they focus on leading them off in another direction, or one picture that they don't understand taking up all of your time to explain.
Writing is a huge part of my job. I'm at Johnson Controls, which is the biggest seating supplier in the world, part of a bigger company that's about $40 billion in sales, 180,000 employees, every continent, a lot of the countries in the world. My technical writing, my communication that I have to do on just a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis is pretty extensive. Working in matrix organizations nowadays, a lot of it has to be clarifying points and making sure there's alignment. And that's the biggest part of my job, is alignment. There are many examples I can think of where engineers, and guilty myself probably of it, presented a lot of data, a lot of facts, and 100 pages of PowerPoint and no firm conclusions, and really expecting the reader to draw those conclusions out, which most people in any level of management will never read through 100 pages. Sometimes they won't even read a 4-paragraph email. Sometimes they won't read a 4-sentence email, right? So you really have to be clear, right? So understanding the audience, giving enough detail to let them know what you're talking about and that you've looked at options. I think there's a balance there between, if you assume they don't know anything, you're going to write way too much, you'll lose your audience, and you won't get them to get to the conclusion you want. Common mistake in emails. And the flip side is if you don't write enough, right, you assume they know everything, to assume they know that specific detail or your specific program in a certain region, they probably don't. So you need to give them some context in some cases, right? Poorly written documents have led to business loss. So that's, in sales, that's like a dagger in the heart, right? Certainly, which I would tell you, we've had to close the plant and pay $26 million to sever the employees. So significant financial ramifications. Even today, after 25 plus years of a lot of writing, I read everything I write at least twice. Sometimes I'll pull out something and hand it to my 13-year-old daughter. She knows very little about the technical things of my job. If I can hand it to her and she can get through it and kind of say, I think we want to go, I think you're saying you want to do this, I usually am like, okay, I've done this appropriately, right? So she's kind of my test case.